All right. I want to switch us to COVID quickly and Deborah Birx.
Here she was on Piers Morgan's show recently.
And what we've done wrong in public health is we didn't explain that COVID vaccines were nothing like the childhood vaccines, and that the childhood vaccines, like many of the diseases, you get it once, you don't get it again. And this is getting the children to have that disease without getting the deadly consequences. That is not what the COVID vaccine was designed to do. It wasn't designed to prevent against infection. And if you look at the vaccine hesitancy rates, they've doubled since COVID.
And we actually brought some of the first cases challenging COVID vaccine mandates in 2021. And we made that point, and we had the experts make that point. And the government was constantly trotting out experts, quote unquote, claiming, no, the vaccine stops transmission. And that is a rationale for the mandates. So it's kind of infuriating to see them admit it, 3 years later, when there had been so much denial about that before.
Well, I guess, what do you make of Deborah Birx saying that, we just did a sloppy job, and I mean, it seems so obvious that it wasn't a sloppy job. It was very intentional. There was a lot of moving parts in the way that the federal government handled COVID related to our ability to talk about the issues that were happening at the time. It didn't seem like it was just, a PR mess up because we weren't communicating right, or we overlooked a few things. I mean, it seemed like it was a very, very intentionally run program behind the scenes. And so when I hear her say that, first off, she's kind of throwing other people under the bus, but I don't buy it.
Exactly. And it's not true that it was just, they didn't appropriately communicate this message. They said exactly the opposite many, many times. Joe Biden, Anthony Fauci, I don't remember if Birx herself did, Rochelle Walensky definitely did, that if you get this vaccine, you won't get COVID and you won't be able to spread it. They demonized people who claimed otherwise, or who didn't want to get the vaccine and thought it was a personal choice, and claimed it was not a personal choice because this was about transmission. So it's completely misrepresenting what happened. And just like everything else that happened with COVID, there's been no accountability. There's been no expression that they got it wrong. They're just trying to smooth things over and sort of twist what happened and pretend, it was just a miscommunication. It was just that we didn't convey it publicly. And also, I'll add that a lot of the scientists who were saying this, like plaintiffs in Missouri versus Biden, Jay Bhattacharya and Martin Kulldorff, were censored online for saying that. So it's really something.
Well, yeah. And remember, there was the whole Dr. Francis Collins issue where he was calling Bhattacharya a fringe epidemiologist in government emails. Like, we got to have like a concerted effort to disparage what he's saying with the Great Barrington Declaration. So, I mean, they were formulating how to fight back against these people. So it wasn't, I don't know. It just, she makes it sound like it was just kind of, we just didn't get our messaging right. But they did get their messaging right. Actually, they got it very right for what they were trying to do. I mean, they were very successful. They completely upended society and people's lives, and they did it. It's obvious to me that they've done it intentionally. I don't know why she's coming out saying this now, trying to like regain favor and just kind of play village stooge. But there's probably an intentional reason for that too. I mean, I'm just going to guess.
Right. Well, I mean, what she's essentially saying is, we would never say that the ends justify the means. But that's exactly what was happening, is they didn't really care about the means. They didn't really care about actually communicating. They wanted to say whatever they had to say to get a specific result. And now they're backing away from that was their approach. Now they're trying to say, it was just an error in judgment. No, it wasn't an error in judgment. It was just time caught up with your misbehavior.
Back to the Missouri Biden case. Is this totally over? Are we done? Because didn't the Supreme Court say you don't have standing or something like that?
No. Well, yeah. So the media got a lot of this wrong. So
okay, please explain it for us correctly.
Sure. Sorry, I'll try to keep it as free of legalese as possible.
Well,
but the case.
Can you Can you set the premise for this too, in case people are watching this and like, what is Missouri v. Biden?
Yeah, so the simple facts are basically that the plaintiffs, two of whom are co-authors of the Great Barrington Declaration, Jay Bhattacharya and Martin Kulldorff, people might have heard of, and a couple other plaintiffs, were censored on social media. Meanwhile, the Biden administration had been threatening, pressuring, coercing, and working with social media companies. And the form that the influence took was different depending on the agency, the time. The White House was putting a lot of pressure and coercion on the companies, I would say. And that sort of contrasts with the CDC that was more like working with the companies and telling them what kind of stuff to censor, especially having to do with the COVID vaccines, but also related subjects. So their contention is that that's a First Amendment violation because the government can't, the government is forbidden under the First Amendment from abridging the freedom of speech, and it cannot likewise use private companies in order to accomplish that aim. And this was kind of an original argument because social media is pretty new. The Biden administration's use of this, especially the coercive tactics, had really not happened before. So the plaintiffs filed what's called a preliminary injunction motion, and that's an emergency motion basically saying my rights are being violated. I need relief right now. We can't wait to go through the whole court process, which can often take years with discovery. So this went up on the emergency motion to the Supreme Court. And it's understood by courts, including the Supreme Court, that doesn't allow for full discovery to take place, all of the facts, all of the law to be developed. It's an emergency motion, and it's sort of a quick decision. So the fact that the court found the plaintiffs didn't have standing based on that does not mean that the entire lawsuit is thrown out. And in fact, that's what we argued, and the district judge in the court below agreed with us that the Supreme Court's decision didn't make the entire case. That didn't mean the plaintiffs didn't have standing in the case. And so he actually allowed us to get discovery in order to prove that the plaintiffs have standing. Now, in the meantime, as we were doing that, the Trump administration came down with this executive order saying the government can't do this anymore, it never could, and it's definitely not going to happen anymore. And so the government asked if we could brief the matter of where that leaves us, and we agreed that it made sense to do that. Because if the government's not doing it anymore, there's an argument that it's moot. Now, I would say there's a good argument on the other side, which is that this could just happen again in 4 years. This isn't binding on the next administration. So we really need to have more than just the executive order in order to make sure it doesn't happen again. I don't know if Zhonette has anything to add.
Well, I mean, I think that's right. It was the court's order was very much tied to the procedural posture of the case, and they were not addressing the ultimate merits. And so if the election hadn't happened, or if Trump hadn't come out with the statements that they've come out with, we would be proceeding ahead full steam. And so it's just a question now of do we need relief? We think we do. What form is that going to take?
Mm-hmm. One of the plaintiffs is Dr. Aaron Cariotti. Correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And one of the videos that he cites is on my show. I don't know if you two knew that. But I was like one of the first people really to interview him about what he was doing with the University of California, suing them and talking about natural immunity. And that video was removed from YouTube. And so then I went to Twitter, which is the only way to get YouTube's attention. Hey, you took this doctor offline, like he's a medical ethics director at a major university. Why can't we hear what he has to say about vaccine mandates? And that cost me my job because I was working for the State Department of Natural Resources in Washington State. And they told me that if I wanted to keep interviewing doctors like him, that I was going to get fired and I could keep my job if I stopped. And I refused. I said I had a First Amendment right to continue doing this on my own time. And they fired me. So now I have a federal lawsuit as well. So we're all jumping into the federal lawsuit game. Woo! Anyway, if you want to support travel costs, babysitter, time off the podcast that I have to take in order to work with my attorneys on documents and all that kind of good stuff, then you can go to givesendgo.com/Allison Free Speech Fight. Thank you for everybody so much who has supported over there. And you can also check out the Silent Majority Foundation. They're the ones representing me. If you want to support their legal work, go to silentmajorityfoundation.org. That's where you can read all of the documents that have so far come with my case. We're basically up on the motion to dismiss right now. So I don't know when we're going to find out what the judge will decide about the case, but the state has filed their motion to dismiss. Let's switch to teeth though real fast. Okay, if you're somebody who struggles with cavities like I did over a decade ago, and you would like to try out a product that significantly helped me, go to greenpasture.org, use promo code Allison at checkout. You'll get 10% off. They've got amazing products here, really, for all kinds of different health related issues. But the one I'm talking about here that we've been taking in our family is the fermented cod liver oil and the concentrated butter oil blend. So these two are put together because the vitamins and minerals in each of them help synergistically to give your body the best bioavailability. So basically, without the certain vitamins, like they work together. The minerals and the vitamins all work together. You don't have one, you don't get the other. So not all fish oils are created equal. This is not a supplement. This is a food product, and they are just an amazing company. I went one time 3 years on accident, really, without going to the dentist. I was not like intentionally doing that. I thought for sure this time I would have cavities. They would find cavities. They would shame me for it, but no cavities. And they thought my gums looked great and everything. I think obviously getting off processed foods is a great idea, but if you want something just to really help, this is great for immune health, brain health, joint health, all kinds of stuff, but really significantly helped me with dental health. So again, greenpasture.org, promo code Allison.